Okay, guys, welcome back to Training Partners Podcast. We have a special edition episode today. I kicked Chris off the podcast. He's operating our camera today. We're in the field here at USA Weightlifting Nationals with my friend Brittany Rucker, and we're gonna have this a chat, like the kind of chats that we usually have when we get to go on trips together and just talk weightlifting, talk shop. So, Brittany, thank you for setting aside the time to do this with me, because pretty sure this is the busiest coach here.
Yes.
I think I can definitively say that, and I feel no bad about saying it.
Absolutely,
and this is like the only day you don't have athletes, if I remember right.
Yes, it is.
So thank you.
Today,
the first thing I want to start with, in case people our listeners, the tens of them that are watching this, it's a mix from a couple different backgrounds. So we have people in weightlifting who definitely know who you are, but you want to just give us a rundown, who is Brittany Rucker, and what is it that you currently do in your life?
My name is Brittany Rucker. I am the owner and the founder and head coach of Bexar Barbell. Started just over 5 years ago. Coach athletes of all level, from beginner all the way to high level athletes. I'm a senior international coach. I got it 2 years ago, and I just coach weightlifting, travel around the world with this guy and other people, and get to coach.
That's great. Okay. So the first thing I wanted to ask, because I don't even think I know the answer to this, is why weightlifting? Why did you choose? What was your introduction like? And then why did you be this is the thing? What clicked? So how did you get exposed to the sport? Okay. And what was the role that you're in? Because obviously now you're in not an athlete role. Right. So I think you started as an athlete like most of us. So let's just tell us all about that.
Yeah. So I don't know if you know this, I was a paramedic at a high school.
Okay, I did know
that.
So
I was a paramedic up until I was 26. When I was 22, I got into CrossFit. So before that, I rode motocross professionally. Okay. Got super hurt. I don't know if you know that.
I did.
And didn't really know what to do because I played sports my whole life. And one of my friends was like, hey, we should go to CrossFit, of course. Yeah. So let's go to a CrossFit class. So I went to CrossFit and really liked it. And then I started coaching CrossFit because I had so much time off from being a medic.
That's so funny, yeah.
And then I started coaching CrossFit. And then one day I went to Lululemon and I was talking to one of the employees there, and they were like, yeah, I do weightlifting. And I was like, what is that? And they're like, well, I just snatch and clean and jerk and squat.
So it's Lululemon's fault?
Yes, actually.
Okay.
That barely exists.
That's great.
And I was like, what do you mean? I don't have to run or do wall balls? And they were like, no. And I was like,
That sounds sick.
Right. So I found the only weightlifting gym in San Antonio was 210 weightlifting.
Okay.
Steve Galvan. Yep. And didn't even start weightlifting. I took my level 1.
Well, okay, yeah.
Because I was like, just because I was a coach, so I was like, well, I'll take my level 1. And then I got exposure to a weightlifting gym, and I was like, I want to do this.
Yeah, so it's a little bit different.
Yeah,
right?
So then I started I was like, all right, I'm going to be a weightlifter. So I started at that gym on a Tuesday, and on Thursday, they were like, hey, we have a meet this weekend. Do you want to do it? And I was like, what do I do? And they're like, just show up, we'll bring you a singlet.
Sure.
And I was like, okay. So I did a weightlifting meet 3 days into actually being a weightlifter.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, I had no idea what was going on.
No, to share, my exposure is really similar.
Yeah.
So I wanted to be, again, CrossFit.
Yeah.
I was playing rugby, and they told me, my friend was like, hey, you should try CrossFit because we'll get in really good shape. I wanted to be a professional rugby player, and what I saw is that rugby athletes, professionals, trained. I was like, okay, I need to train, so let me go do this. I got exposed to a good CrossFit gym that they had strength plus conditioning kind of going on. Not a lot of weightlifting. I wasn't able to play rugby anymore because I moved away from my club, so with my free time, just like you, I was like, let me try other things. So I started learning more about the CrossFit stuff to be a good coach, and I'm like, I got to know how to weightlift. So I was kind of in my friend's garage learning how to weightlift, not from a weightlifting coach, figuring it out. And then I was like, okay, let me go take my level 1. So that's why I was like, dude, super similar. Yeah. Went to this level 1 with this guy named Glenn Penlay. Yeah. And that was it. That ruined the rest of my life right there. But it was just kind of dive in to it. After that level 1, I visited him again. He said, come up and train for a week. And I'd never done a meet. So that week, there was a meet Kevin Doherty was running. And so, it wasn't 3 days in, but it's, very short in. It's do a meet, and you find out you get hooked, right? That feeling is really unique. I don't know. I'm sure there are other things that give you that feeling. I know that there are, right?
Right, absolutely.
But it's really simple. It probably felt like when you were doing motocross.
That's exactly. I was about to say. It's that adrenaline. The difference is, when you're doing weightlifting, obviously, if you have a good, mental game. You can be in that like zone for like a session, or at least do snatches or clean and jerks. For motocross, it was like 3 to 5 minutes, but like way higher stakes.
Sure.
Because you can't think about anything else, and you just have to be completely locked in for that like moto. So it's very similar, but in like shorter bursts of that exact precise focus, but more a broad focus for a longer period of time.
That makes sense. Yeah. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't know that, so thanks for sharing that with us. All right. So now I want to transition more into coaching, because now like that was like the beginning of your exposure to weightlifting. I guess, so you do a meet, you're 3 days in, you did a level 1, you continue to probably do weightlifting more. When do you think, what happened when you were like, oh, coaching is for me?
Right.
How do you think that happened?
Yeah, so at that point, actually, the Lululemon employee was a member at that gym.
Okay.
And then we started TSS Barbell together.
Okay.
Same person.
Gotcha.
So we started TSS. I was coaching my 4 days off, and then I was a paramedic my 2 days.
Okay.
So I was doing both full time essentially, but I wasn't like all in.
Yeah.
And then essentially had a stint of like bad calls at work that were poorly handled, just some really bad stuff. And I was like, I'm like 26 and I'm really jaded.
Yeah.
I have like night terrors.
Yeah.
And I probably shouldn't try to do this for the rest of my life. And it just got to a point to where I walked into work one day and went to my director's office and quit. I was like, hey, I can't do this anymore. And then I was like, well, here we go. I'm all in.
It's a hard job.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So then I just transitioned to fully weightlifting.
Dived into coaching.
Right. And then had that club for 3 or 4 years. COVID happened, separated, started Bear. And then by myself.
My first training partner when I was in this garage trying to do weightlifting was also a paramedic. And I remember him going through a lot of the same things.
Yeah, it's hard.
He is also no longer. He's a physician's assistant now, and like it's hard work. So I know
can't do it forever.
like the stress, the mental stress that it has. I remember he would come home from a long shift, and like I think he handled it pretty well, but you could see when he was like trying to train or enjoy other things in his life, it was hard to make any progress.
Yep. I mean, I would say that carried over so much in my ability to pivot and be reactive in a back room and not freak out. Because it's like,
you're handling high stress situations.
if you feel comfortable being in a situation where people are dying, this is nothing.
Yeah. Yeah, because this is just made up fun time.
Right. So it's like you miss a warm up, someone burns your clock, 3 people jump.
Yeah.
Whatever, just
handle
it. So
it.
I think that very much I've learned recently, coaching at a high level. I'm like, why am I so chill? And I'm like, oh yeah, I've dealt with way worse.
It's way worse.
Yeah.
Way worse. Okay, cool. So you start out coaching, you make that dive in. What do you think were your biggest influences when you were in developing like who you are as a coach today? Does anything in the beginning stand out, or anything along the way, whatever it is? Do you have like coaching mentors? I know we've talked about some of them, so I have a good idea, but like what was influential in you, like, okay, this is how I think I want to do coaching?
Right. So I would say I have a lot of small influences. I mean, I read a lot. Like became very obsessed with leadership and just like, okay, how do I become the best leader and person possible? Because like we emulate the people we look up to. As a coach, even if you suck, people are gonna look up to you.
Yeah.
And so it's like, if I can emulate the kind of leader that I would want people to look up to, I think I'll be successful. But I think the moment that I really realized what kind of coach I wanted to be was 2016, I think it was Anaheim finals. Sean Waxman was coaching Caitlin Hogan. And I was watching in the stands. It was my first ever finals I'd ever been to. And Caitlin and Courtney were going back and forth like a Pan Am spot or something.
Yeah.
And I remember watching Sean coach Caitlin and being like, he cares so much. Mm-hmm. Like, it's just like, it was palpable.
Very invested, yeah.
Very invested.
Like radiating with energy, right?
Yes,
yeah.
And I was in that moment, I was like, and at this point I wasn't even really a coach yet, but I remember thinking like, if I become a coach, that's how I want to be. I want to care and be that invested to where people in the stands are like, man, like that's special. Like that person really cares about them. And I think that was my first like big moment. And then like when I started having athletes make teams, I got exposure to all these high level coaches who I would just be like, hey, can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, like Tripp has been a huge person for me that I can always call and ask questions. Him and I were sitting over there yesterday for like an hour talking about like programming.
Yeah.
Travis Mash, Kevin Simons, you, like anybody that would sit down with me, I'd be like, hey, can I ask you questions?
Right.
Like I remember Ryan Grimslin, I saw him with a gym wear and I was like, Travis, what is that? And he was like, I'll tell you tomorrow at breakfast.
Let me tell you about it.
Yes, exactly. just anything I could get my hands on.
Yeah.
I would say also Danny Camargo was a really big influence the last couple years, kind of helping me. He helped me navigate becoming a higher level coach.
Okay.
Because there were obstacles I would come up on and be like, why is this happening? Like, why am I getting this pushback or whatever? And he really guided me through a lot of it.
Oh, wow. Okay, that's great.
So I guess a little bit of everything.
You got a little bit of everything, yeah.
Yeah.
I think what's really cool about, maybe this happens in other communities and we're just not in them. My experience in weightlifting has always been exactly what you talked about,
right.
Where it's, for the most part, coaches are super chill.
Right.
Like they're ready to do that part. Like my coaches definitely did that. Like I during that level 1, I was like, Glenn, let me take you out to lunch, and let me buy you in and out, whatever. He's like, okay.
Whatever you want.
Yeah. I think we went to Chipotle actually that day. And we did that. The next time I came back, I visited. I walked in with In and Out. He's like, all right, you can stay forever.
Right,
sort of thing. But they were always so generous with their time, to the point that like it was detrimental to like their life actually. Like I think now we're a little more conscious, I think, of like protecting our time or something like that. I don't know, maybe we're not, but
I'm definitely not as I should be. Like I think about how like there were things that I had to figure out and go through that if someone helped me, it would have been easier.
Yeah.
So when I have coaches reach out to me, I'm like, I'll hop on the phone. Like whatever,
so
it's fine.
That actually was the next thing I wanted to ask you, is like, what is something that stands out for you as like, was an obstacle or a mistake that you felt you made as a coach early on, and what did you learn from it? Like, is there anything that is like, hey, I really screwed this up, and either someone helped you navigate that and give you that lesson, or? I
think I had some athletes, as weird as it sounds, make it onto teams a little too easy. I think I had athletes that I like allowed them to maybe swing a little too hard, and it worked out, but in the long term it didn't work out because they didn't learn what it was like to have to work for those things. Yeah. And I think if there's anything I've learned is there's a lot of merit and value in holding athletes back a little that have a lot of potential. And I think that like there's obviously for a lot of coaches some ego into it to where you're like, oh well, I want to make that team, I want to break that record, I want to win. But there's also something to be said for like getting a bronze and then next year getting a silver and next year getting a gold.
Of course.
Like that sustainability I think is probably something that, and I don't know if anyone could have told me that, I think I had to learn. But I think just like allowing athletes to not have to work for things and just like get where they've gotten on their talent.
Oh wow, okay.
And almost be okay with it, but I didn't like know any different.
So teaching work ethic, I guess, even when they have the talent to like make leaps and bounds.
Right, because then they age out of youths into juniors and they're not making teams and they're like, what's going on?
Oh, okay, and they've never faced the adversity.
Right, and they don't know what it's like to not make a team.
Yep.
Like they went 2 for 6.
We see that a lot.
And they make a team and then they age up or they go into a senior and they're like, oh, hey, when's the last qualification for Worlds? And I'm like, you're not going to Worlds. What? But they just don't get it.
It's a drastic step, for sure.
Like, I was telling Tripp this yesterday, I was like, my favorite athlete is like a senior national B session lifter. Yeah. Because like, they have to work. Yes. And like, I'll take someone who works and doesn't medal over someone who shows up and wins.
That's the best. Yeah. I want hard workers.
Yeah.
How about you?
It's like I don't even, that's one thing like I think why Celia and I clicked so hard as coach athlete, because she works her ass off. And I can resonate with that.
It's nice when they do that.
Right.
And you don't have to like pull them along or something like that.
And so I think just people getting stuff too easy.
People who are like intrinsically motivated by the process, right? They're like, I love this process. I love coming here, doing this thing, even if it's only the B group, even if it's not for medals, trying to make a team. Like, I just love weightlifting and competing and this feeling. Those people, I think, end up staying in the sport way longer, and they probably ultimately get further. Absolutely. Right? Whereas people who are like, oh, I only care about this because of, honestly, probably because of the attention it gets me or the distinction. It's like, oh, I'm Team USA athlete. It's like, that's cool. You're a U15 Team USA athlete. That is, I'm glad you have this experience. Yeah. But, you know, we've got to keep building, you know, sort of thing. There are other things along the way. So, yeah, that's a good perspective. It's
definitely one no one could have taught me.
No, you just got to go through it. Right. Probably. I don't even think someone could point that out. Like, hey, Britt, make sure you teach them work ethic. Right. It's like, what are you talking about?
Exactly. Because you think they have it.
You do. You're a high level athlete. Like, you need to have discipline.
And then you're like, wait, you don't.
You don't work hard. Yeah, it's disappointing. Piggybacking off of that, so if that's a lesson that you had and kind of found out how to resolve it, what was from all of those sources you mentioned, what do you feel like is the best piece of advice you ever got about coaching?
Actually, I don't know if this is a piece of advice, but I remember the first time I had people making teams, I was like, how do you like figure this out? And someone showed me like their spreadsheet with all the calculations and everything like that. And I was like, all right, yeah, this is great. Which is amazing, and I still make the spreadsheets and everything, but one time I was talking to Trip, and I was like super stressed about getting someone on a team, and he was like, Brittany, you know the best way to get someone on a team? And I was like, what? He was like, just be better than everyone else.
Yeah.
And like, there's merit to that, because it's like sometimes as a coach you obsess so hard over the numbers, and we need like this total and like this mixture and whatever, and it's like, just work hard.
Yeah.
Just be better. And then you don't have to worry about NRS numbers and all that stuff.
It's a good strategy.
There is merit in both, right? But I think sometimes it's easy to get so caught up in the metrics, you forget that like, you still got to get it done.
Yeah.
And you still got to figure it out.
You just got to be strong as fuck.
You can hit all the numbers you want in training. But I mean, look at like Dryden, like the kid had never clean and jerk. Those were both PRs. No metric would have told me he was going to hit that on a platform.
Right.
But taking the time to build that relationship with the kid, taking the time to know the right words to say to him before he walks out, that's nothing a metric is going to teach me.
No.
And like, I think that's a missed point too, is coaches get so obsessed with numbers and metrics and VBT. It's like, there's a human behind that athlete.
Right. Yeah.
And if you don't know the athlete, or know the human, the athlete doesn't matter.
Right. Yeah. You're navigating it's not a machine, it's a biological being with different thoughts, feelings, variables all the time. It's a complex, dynamical system, and it's changing all the time. And like, you got to help them stay, I guess, as locked in as they can, right? Or build a really, really sound relationship so they can feel that confident, go in and do those ridiculous things, maybe delusional things.
Right, absolutely. Right? And the other hard part is like, you're changing too.
Yeah. Managing, I think a lot about this. Like, managing internally is one of the greatest challenges as coaches.
Absolutely.
I think, because especially when you get close with your athletes.
Right.
Like, I think I told you this in one of our trips, like, because you'll get a little nervous. You'll like talk to me like, I'm nervous here right now.
Throw up,
and you do a great job of handling it. Like, I don't feel that like your athletes particularly know that.
Yeah, they usually don't.
But the closer you get to that athlete, the more time you spend with it. And I can speak the same if I coach my wife, or if I coach Harley or someone like that. Like, it becomes much more difficult for me to manage that part and like, all right, stay ice cold,
Right. Yeah.
When I'm on these trips and I'm in this like advisory role here, just kind of like making sure we all make the best decisions, way easier for me because I have that degree of separation. So I think that's like an untalked about thing for coaches that all of us go through, especially the closer your relationship gets.
Right.
And as you already pointed out, the better relationship you have, the more potential you have for like a greater outcome for the athlete. Like, they're going to believe more, like, so you have, it can be a superpower or it can be like your downfall if you don't manage those emotions really well.
Right. Well, you have to like have the relationship with them to where like, it's not just about them. It's not just about the weight. It's bigger, right? It's about a goal that you've set forward together. But you also have to like be the right person for them. And that also means like maintaining a level of professionalism and leadership, and like being that person that they look up to, but not that they look up to so much that you're not a human to them.
Right. Yeah.
Like, they still have to see you as a person.
Don't be that absentee father kind of coach or something like that.
Or just like this figurehead that gets mad at them.
Yeah. I think that's I was talking to Travis Mash about this, like, because he was having trouble navigating actually this very thing, and his archetype in some regards, because he played college football, and in a big system, I mean, a college football team is like very different. I don't know the exact amount of guys on a roster. I think it's like 55. It might be more. And they have more than one coach. But like the head coach, he's like, I never talked to my head coach, like ever. Like, I talked to my head coach like I was in trouble. That was it. So you never had that relationship with them, and that's kind of a mold that we see, like this top-down, very authoritarian, no connection sort of thing.
Right.
And we're in an individual sport.
Right.
Super different. You're coaching many more people than would be on a college football roster in an individual sport, and you do have other coaches in your organization, but they're not like assistants who are like direct. Like, if you're coaching someone, like, you're the person, right? You're in charge of it. Yeah. You don't get to just lean on X person to step.
No.
It's like, hey, I'm only their clean and jerk coach. Will you be their snatch coach?
Their snatch coach?
Yeah.
Or their life coach?
Yeah, exactly. Like, instead of like a football coach, like, I'm the head, like, you're the O-line coach, like, blah blah blah. We don't get that luxury. We have to manage a lot of relationships, and a lot of relationships scholarships to be successful enough to make a living at this.
Right, and it's just everyone's different, and everyone needs a different version of you, and then you have to and that changes too. And the hard part is with coaching at a high level, it's with Kylie, we've done 2 meets together, and one was Worlds and then Nationals. It's our only 2 meets together.
Yeah, a really high level.
So I had to okay, who does this kid need me to be? And I don't have time to figure it out.
Right. That's hard.
I just have now. And so, obviously having experience with other athletes helps a lot. But it's even with Anna, my kid, as our dynamic changed, figuring that out was hard. And it I feel I kind of figured it out between snatch and clean and jerk. It's we had a terrible snatch session. And I came up here and sat down and I was who do I need to be?
Right.
And I was well, maybe I need to be the coach she had at 16.
Probably.
Maybe I need to be that person again instead of trying to balance this parent-coach thing. I'm just going to try to be that coach.
That's a good plan.
And then it was a great day.
Yeah. That's awesome.
So sometimes it's
and sometimes it sucks that you don't figure it out until snatches are over, right?
Yeah.
But hey, at least you figure it out.
Yeah.
That kind of transitions me into another spot I want to dive into. Competition. So we're here at Nationals Week. There's a bunch of competition-specific questions I could ask you, but we've already been kind of talking about the things that I think are really important. So for you, when you're preparing an athlete for a high-level event, whether it's Nationals or Worlds, what would you say your competition preparation process looks like? And that could be a number of different ways. We could talk about the programming aspect of it, hey, I believe this is most important, or we've talked a lot about that connection, that psychological aspects, okay? And then I want to piggyback and ask about how we manage them in the moment.
Yeah.
But just, say we're, 6-8 weeks out, or this is the start of this comp prep. How do you like to go about that?
Yeah, so I think it definitely depends on the athlete and the goal at the meet. So obviously, as we talked about, the process is the most important aspect, but you do have to have a result that you want, right?
Yeah.
So
immeasurable, basically.
Yes. So for example, at Worlds with Erin, it was a total. For Celia at Worlds, it was top 10 and a good day. So I think knowing the end result is the first step. Okay, what do we want out of this?
So an objective and an expectation for what we're doing.
Right, and then it's all right, well, how do we get there? Okay, well, what does programming look like? Well, do they need exposure to those numbers beforehand? Or are they the kind of athlete that just needs to build consistency at a lighter percentage, and then they're good for those higher ones? Estelle's an athlete that normally we don't really touch a lot of the numbers she'll do in a comp in training. But if we build a lot of consistency, she's fine. Aaron needs exposure to some of those numbers, which is hard because he's super.
He's big and he's got to recover from it.
Right. So snatch, we have some exposure. Clean and jerk, we just can't.
Yeah.
For a lot of those loads. So I think it definitely depends on the athlete. And then you have to know, okay, do they do really well hitting high percentages? Do they need that confidence? Do they need to run through their 6 attempts a week out?
Yeah.
Are they good just hitting their openers?
Do we just speak to them about that? Is that a thing? Okay. So we kind of let the athlete self-select what they feel will prep them the most.
And I do think that allows, so after big meets, I'll usually ask athletes, all right guys, so for the next 4 weeks, you guys can pick. Do you want to do a GPP cycle, strength, or technique? What do you think you need to do? Because it also, motivation is the lowest post-comp for most athletes. But when you give athletes ownership in where the path goes next, they're way more accountable and way more likely to follow through with staying on track.
Yeah, because they chose it.
Because even if I'm what do you want to do? And they're strength. And I'm we don't need that. But whatever. Cool. We'll do strength for 4 weeks.
Well, they chose it. They have some buy-in. It's what they like to do.
Correct.
There is a very famous sprint coach. They tried this experiment. It's probably 20 years ago now. Sprinters don't particularly like the weight room, to be honest.
Yeah.
And so they were trying to figure out, okay, what if we just pick things they like?
Yeah.
That's better than nothing, right? They broke it down as hey, do you want to do lifts on 2 feet or 1 foot, so bilateral, unilateral, and do you want to pull or do you want to push? And that was it. It's answer me those 2 questions. I'll give you those strength exercises. Yeah. And what they did find, even though that's really reductionist and simple, they were picking, so they got the buy-in. Yeah. They ended up picking things they did like doing.
Right.
So it may not, from our perspective, be a weakness work thing, but then they tried really hard at it, and they got a lot of gains out of it because they cared and they were invested into it, and it helped their sprinting a lot. Now there's they've kind of seen since that hey, there are a little bit better ways of tightening that up, but if you start there, it seemed to work really, really well.
Right.
So you're kind of saying, hey, I'm just going to ask them, what do you need to feel psychologically ready? And and we're going to design the training program like that. That's all based off of that expectation. So you did objective and expectation for the event, and then you're like, all right, well, what do you feel like you need to do that? And so you just kind of reverse engineer from there and program
so we're 4 weeks out of Pan Am, so last week I was like, Aaron, what do you think we need to do in this next block to feel the best on game day? And he was like, okay, well, like snatch, I just need to build confidence, and then like clean and jerk, we just need to build consistency. And I was like, okay. And then like, no matter what the program looks like they're bought into it because you even asked.
Yes. Yeah.
Like just asking someone, I sent out a questionnaire before these meets to where I'm like, how do you feel? What do you need in the back? What's the lowest you feel comfortable opening with? What's the highest you feel comfortable opening with? And what do you want out of this meet?
Yeah.
And then the day before they compete, I read through their answers, create a plan, and then they're also bought in because I can be like, hey, you said you wanted this. You picked this. I didn't put this on the bar. You put this on the bar.
Right.
So with Kylie with 120, she wanted 120, and I'm like, hey, it's up to you.
She earned it.
Yeah.
So what do you do if their answer, everything in your coaching body, when you look at their answers, you're like, you don't fucking need that.
Yeah, I just.
So how do you go about that conversation then?
It depends on the athlete. So if there's a lot of ego involved, it's a lot harder.
Yeah, of course.
So let's say somebody wants to open it, I don't know, say 100, right? And you're like, 101's your max. What are you doing?
Yeah.
So you can either just be like, hey, I don't think that's the best way to go about it, or you find a way to make them realize it's not smart. So I'll be like, hey, just declare 97, that's your last warm up. We'll hit that and we'll see how it goes. Inevitably they hit 97, it's a little shaky, and you're like, hey, you know what, the cards are a mess, things are crazy, let's just open there and get on the board.
You just kind of side pivot it, just
shift it.
Smoke and mirrors.
And then they're like, you know what, that's right, you're right. And then they do it, and let's say they go, I don't know, 97, 100, 102, whatever. And they're like, that's so good. I'm like, yeah, I know, it's so good.
That's funny.
Yeah.
I think what I would do if I have that, because the egotistical ones are really, really hard.
Absolutely.
And I think it's built, being able to adjust those expectations is built on the things you talked about already, like having a really good relationship and having basically trust.
Right.
Because if they don't trust you, they're not going to adjust at all.
Absolutely.
Whether it's here, and we need to build that before we get in here. I think when I've had that come up in the past, I'll be like, okay, somebody who opens at that, in my opinion, has to do these things. And so in the weeks leading up, here are the things I think you need to do. And usually they're pretty amenable to that because they have trust in you. It's like, and if they believe it, they're like, okay, I'm going to make it happen.
Yeah.
Sort of thing. And then if they come up short, they're like, okay, well, shit. Coach said, this has got to be done. Maybe we should adjust expectations.
Yeah, and I have done that where I've been like, hey, whatever you want to hit for your opener on snatch, I need you to hit it 3 times.
Yeah, super great metric to have.
Absolutely.
If you can't do your opener 3 times, it's not your opener. It's not even a question. Because guess what's after your opener? Heavy weights.
Right.
Heavier
weights. It only
weights.
gets heavier.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, because that's what, so when Kylie hit 14, Anna was joking, was like, you should just go 20 now. And I'm like, yeah, Kylie, but then we hit 20, and then what do we do?
Exactly. Where do we go?
You got another one.
Yeah.
And I don't know.
21?
Yeah. Can we run it back? Can we do 20 again?
Yeah. Will they let us go down?
Right. So it's you also have to remember you have 3. So when athletes want to open super heavy, I'm like, okay, we hit that. Then what? And they're like, oof, yeah, I don't know. I'm like, you have 3. What
are we going to do?
Right.
Maybe they're like, no, let's do 20 and scratch. It'll be done or something like that. It's that's not good trading. Okay. So if that's our preparation process, making it come to fruition, keeping them locked in. This is what we do a lot on our trips. Do you have any methods, tips, tricks, or what are you doing to help an athlete kind of stay locked in and in that that flow state that we talked about, really where when you're riding the bike and you got 3 to 5 minutes in a race, it's like I got to stay locked in the flow. And even though there's only these bursts of the lifts, I kind of feel like the whole performance you kind of have to exist there.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
Because if you start deviating, and maybe that's a different challenge in weightlifting where they're like, there are these weights, sometimes really long weights, sometimes really short weights, this unpredictable, chaotic environment. And it's like, hey, I need you to be here this whole time and not deviate from that. So what's something that you do that you feel like works or anything come to mind? So
an analogy that I'll use with athletes, which is a weird analogy because I've never surfed in my life, but I think about surfing.
Okay.
Because if you're sitting on the water, you're not thinking about I need an oil change or I need to do that test. You're just sitting on the water waiting for the next next wave.
Yeah.
And sometimes you sit longer and sometimes you don't. So you're just sitting there kind of in that like calm state almost. And then you have to be able to like catch that wave as it comes. And that also is how like endorphins and adrenaline works. Like you have to be able to like raise those.
Muster them, basically, yeah.
And so it's kind of like that, where you have to kind of just be like, okay, and then grab that next wave, but you're also not on the beach. And so one thing I do with athletes a lot is like try to really, I learned this in the last year, which I hate it took me this long, was like, what did you feel? And it was frustrating because I learned it with a lot of my high level athletes. Like I remember one time Lane missed like a 150 snatch and I was like, what did you feel? And he was like, I don't know. I was like, do you just rip it off the ground and hope it worked out? He was like, yeah.
Just disassociated entirely,
like,
yeah.
Do you not think while you lift? Do you not have like cues? Because I think as a coach sometimes, if we're an athlete, you're like, well, this is what I do, so obviously everyone does that too.
Right, yeah, sure.
Like I have like cues I say through in my head through the lift. I'm like, you don't do that? And he was like, no. I'm like, I just snatched 155. Like just hoping it goes well. So I learned to start like before a lift, especially at a meet, being like, what do you need to focus on? Like, let's say they hit a great, I don't know, a great warm up. I'm like, okay, cool. What do you need to make sure you keep doing, or what can you do a little better on this next one to make it even better? Because it also diverts their mind from like the nervousness and the anxiety, because they're just focusing on what to do right. They're not focusing on what could go wrong. So it could be like, I'm just gonna push with my legs and catch tight. Okay, cool.
Yeah, we never want to introduce like, hey, don't do this. I do this and catch myself doing it a lot, explaining what went wrong. Right. Usually in training, never here.
Right.
But so here, never a, hey, don't do this.
Right.
Always a do this sort of thing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's positive language and an anchor instead of like avoiding this possibility.
I try to put them in a position of power. Like, what do you think you need to do? And if you don't have the answer, that's okay. I can give you the answer. But I would prefer you come to the answer on your own. And it's like, okay, that was, let's say they hit their opener, a little shaky. Okay, cool. What do you need to do better? Even like Kylie missed her opener yesterday. She was just nervous, right? But I can't be like, don't be nervous, we're fine. So I was like, what do you need to do better in order to make this next lift? And she literally goes, I just need to be aggressive. Yeah,
Great.
sick.
Simple.
Let's go.
Let's go do it. Yeah.
And then she was fine. So I think in between each lift being like, hey, that was fantastic. Unfortunately, the next one's heavier. So what do we need to either make sure we do, or what can we do a little better? And it just allows them to stay focused on the task at hand.
Sure.
Rather than like, oh, this is a PR. Oh, this is going to be heavy. Oh, I need this to win. It's like, all right, it doesn't matter. The process of it, what do you need to do to be successful?
So process orientation, and like just focusing on like, if I do X, I'll execute. Doesn't matter what it is. And I think kind of having like that one lift at a time mentality, like nothing's in front of me. Doesn't matter like what position I'm in, medals, anything like that. All that's in front of me is the next lift, right?
Right. Even if it's an empty barbell.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, take that first.
That's how it should be. Like I'm just gonna focus on doing X really, really well with this lift that I've got.
And it's easy as a coach, like with Aaron, right? The 238, it's like the American record, right? It's easy for me to talk about 238, and that's a mistake I would say I made last year. We were always talking about the American record, and I'm like, you know what? I literally was like, I'm not loading it for at least a year. I'm just not going to, because we got so worried about this, we forgot about the 237 kilos that come before 278.
That exists, yeah.
I was like, honestly, even if you have a good meet, I'm gonna load 237. I'm not loading 238.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do it when it happens on the way somewhere. It's not gonna be the actual goal. And that's one thing that I've learned with some of my athletes. It's like, if you almost have this mindset of everything's a train through meet,
sure,
you don't put things on these pedestals where they mean a lot.
Yeah.
Because like, I mean, most people don't know when it's their last meet, if we're being honest. And so it's like,
I didn't.
Right. So it's like, don't treat it like it is.
Yeah.
Just treat it like this is something in the way from your next training cycle.
Yeah.
It's just
treat everything like it's the show, 100%.
Right.
Like I had a conversation with Harley once, like, because I think I made the mistake because it was like, hey, this is a train through meet.
Right.
You know, we're really gonna swing at X whatever meet later on, and end up going really poorly. Didn't bomb out or anything, but like it's like, oh, like why do we think it went so well? It's like, well, we just didn't like everything in the process that day wasn't like a meet. You know, like we weren't like doing hydration and nutrition at the same level.
Yeah.
We weren't like as laser focused. We didn't go in with real goals or objectives. Like, it's a train through. We'll just see what happens. You know, something like that. And I think there's something to be said for like unburdening expectations. That's kind of what you're doing.
Right.
You're unburdening the expectation of American records from this person, and instead you're like, we just need to do these steps.
Right.
And I went like too far with it. It's like zero expectation.
Right, let's just have fun.
You know,
it's
sort of
whatever.
thing. And it's like, that can totally work and it's fine, but progressively when you're like really trying to scrap and claw and climb the mountain, like you need the little steps in between.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, treat every meet like it's a meet, even if it's, I don't know, whatever in your home gym,
right.
you know, sort of thing. Like give it the same severity of focus, right?
Yeah, I had like a researcher reach out to me one time, and they were like asking, they're like, hey, we're doing like this research thing, we're talking to high level coaches about how you create, like the words they used were like high stress situations in training that simulate competition. And I was like, okay, we can talk, whatever. And then I thought about it more, and then when we talked, I was like, I'm gonna be honest with you right now, I'm not gonna give you the answer you want. And they're like, what do you mean? I was like, well, I think it's the opposite of what you think it is. And they're like, what do you mean? I was like, I think you should create more controlled, almost training, comfortable situations in competition. I don't think you should induce anxiety and the unknown in training. I think you should create so much consistency and almost predictability in training, and then be able to, like, as a coach, replicate that on comp day to where you're calm, they know what's happening, they know what's going on. Like, why am I gonna induce a fight or flight?
Sure.
Why don't I just try to make them feel like fine on comp day?
Yeah.
And I was like, so really, I'm telling you the opposite of what you want.
Yeah.
And they were like, no, it's actually like a really good point. I'm like, I just think creating fear is not the answer.
No.
I think creating safety and stability and security is the answer. And knowing like, I mean, I told Kylie this before Worlds. I'm like, if you bomb, I'm going to feel about you the same way. Like, I'm still going to care about you as your coach and as a person. You could go snatch 110, and I'd still think you were just as cool.
Nice. Yeah. Okay.
So it's like almost creating that, like, no matter what, it's going to be okay.
Sure. That sense. So you feel that's way more important than being like, hey, let's get exposure to chaos.
Yeah.
Okay. That's
because
a good
as a coach,
perspective.
your job is to control chaos.
It is. My only thing I'll say is shit happens, right?
It does.
Yeah.
But that also happens sometimes in training, you know?
Yeah.
The first time Aaron hit 220, and this was a situation that, like, I just kind of went on my gut. He had just hit 210, 215 was his max. He hit 210, and it was like okay, but it wasn't great. And I watched him drop the bar and go, it was okay, I'll make it better next time. And he like checked out mentally. And I was like, hey, load 220. And he literally was like, okay. And he hit it, but it was a moment where I was like, this is an opportunity.
Yeah.
Because I watched you just be like, that was okay, but I'm good with it, I'll move on. And I was like, nope, go ahead.
Check out. Okay. Safe environment to challenge them to be better.
Right.
Is that what
and
you're trying to create?
Have you read Conscious Coaching? Right.
Of course.
Okay.
So every coach actually we talked about it last podcast.
It's such a good book.
Every coach on my staff has to read that.
Yeah.
Like when they
so
start.
You know how he talks about creating a safe space to fail.
Yep. Exactly.
That's, I think, the best thing any coach can do is just create a place that it's okay if someone doesn't perform.
Yeah. And there's an athlete that I coach who I hate telling the story, and I'm not going to name names or anything like that, but she had a very big goal in competition, and she came up short of that goal, but she had been in a previous system. And this is a younger athlete, so this is why it breaks my heart. Yep. When she came off the platform, it wasn't that she wasn't like, she started crying, but she wasn't like disappointed that she didn't make her goal. Really, she was like, thought that I was going to be mad at her. And that like broke my heart and made me furious that there are people out there that basically it's like failure is unacceptable or something like that. It's like, did you try your hardest? Which I know that you did.
Did you give me effort?
That's all that I could ever ask for.
Right.
And if it didn't happen, it didn't happen.
Right.
So coaches if you're out there making feel athletes, especially younger athletes, feel shitty for failure, you and don't do it. Like, I'll be direct about that.
Yeah, no, for
That's
sure.
fine.
And I've had athletes that I have close relationships with. I mean, Kate Miranda is one of my best friends, and when she missed 95 at AO Finals a couple years ago, she came off the platform and she looked at me and she said, I'm sorry, B. And I was like, no, it's okay. But part of that is just because of the relationship we built. Like, I've had athletes apologize to me, and I'm like, hey, like, you're good. It's okay.
When they're close, they don't want to let you down.
Right.
You know, but it's like, hey, you're not letting me down by trying your hardest.
Right.
You know?
If you gave me effort, what more could I ask for?
Nothing.
You can't.
Because that's it.
Right.
If that was everything.
Right. It's one thing if you like didn't show up, didn't cut correctly, didn't care, but if you did your best, I'm pumped.
Yeah, exactly. So I want to shift gears and talk a little bit about business.
Okay.
Because when you run you're not just a coach, you're running a club, you're running, have anything to verify this, but I'm almost certain the largest club in the United States, basically on membership, right?
Yeah.
You know,
it's like 250, 260.
Yeah, that's got to be. Like, I just can't hear of another club with that amount of numbers. You know, like there's a couple that maybe come to mind. Like Hassle Free actually has like a lot of athletes and stuff like that. But like Hassle Free, I don't believe is operating a physical location anymore. Maybe they are now. Anyway,
I don't think so.
You know what I'm saying? Like you have a very large club. You've grown over that period of time. There are many things involved in not just coaching or running a club, like operating a brick and mortar facility. There are clubs that are maybe large and they're entirely remote.
Right.
And that's a different thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
A completely different thing. We both run a facility in addition to, like, you have a much larger remote side than I do.
Yeah.
Talk about how do you think Bear became Bear? If you had to sum it up really quickly, which I know it's complicated, in from like starting it in COVID to like where it is now.
Yeah.
How do you feel like you got there? What allowed you to get there?
I feel like culture is big.
Okay.
Like culture and leadership. Honestly, they're the two biggest things. I don't think and nobody wants to hear that. Everyone thinks it's like this mentor or this marketing scheme or this programming style. It's not. I'm not the best at programming. I'm not the best at fixing technique. I will take accountability for my actions. I have humility. I try not to have an ego, and I try to just be the best person I can. And I think that's what people want.
Yeah.
Like they want someone like, I fuck up. Like I forget to make changes in programming. I miss a count. Like it happens, but I will always take accountability. It also makes it easier for other people to take accountability when you do.
Sure, you're leading by example.
Right, if an athlete does poorly, I will be like, how could I have been better for you? Like, and that's a post-meet thing I always ask is like, how could I have been a better coach for you on this lead up to this?
Yeah.
And almost always they're like, you couldn't have. But it allows them the opportunity to self-reflect, and then you've created a safe space for them to be like, well, actually this.
Yes.
Okay, cool. I think culture and leadership are the biggest. I think the biggest thing that holds coaches back is control and not delegating. And that's what I've learned because I coach a lot of coaches, which I love coaching coaches almost as much as high-level people because I can have the same impact, but it's different, is they don't want to delegate. So like they don't want to teach people how to count in a back room. Maybe they want to teach them, but they don't want to hand it over. Mm-hmm. And so for me, like I have 5 people tomorrow at 10 a.m.
Good luck.
I can't count for any of them. So what I do is I have 5 people in place who know how to count that I trust.
Yeah.
I give them the plan. And then I take my hands out of it.
Right.
And I just try to be wherever I need to be in those moments for those 5 lifters. Like there's 30 lifts. I want to be there for all of them. Probably not going to be, but I'm going to try my damnedest. But setting people up for success means creating systems.
Yeah.
And it means teaching people how to count and then also allowing them to fail. Like, I think it was AO1, Reba was counting for one of my athletes. And she came over to me and she goes, I messed up the count. I'm 10 off. I forgot about the 10-minute clock. I was like, okay, that's fine. Run your last 3 warm-ups back. It's just a wave.
Yeah.
She was like, I'm really sorry. It happens. I forgot about a 10-minute clock.
Yeah.
Like, it's okay. And then the same meet, like, the same athlete had missed his first 2 clean and jerks. And she, like, came run. I was on red, she was on blue, she comes running over, and she was like, I don't know what to do. And I was like, all right, well, like, how did he miss them? And she was like, well, he's just, like, crashing in the bottom of the clean. And I was like, oh, does he look strong? And she was like, yes. I was like, okay, so tell him to power clean his last attempt. And she was like, okay.
Okay.
And
so creating a culture where there's like aggressive accountability.
Yeah.
It sounds like not. Is that probably everybody in the gym, not just your coaching staff?
Right.
Right. Like every athlete has to feel that.
Yes. I mean, I want everyone to take accountability for everything they do because then you take ownership. And if you take ownership, there's no ego and then you can succeed.
Yeah.
But I do think delegation is a big missed point.
Yeah. And so if they have accountability, then we can delegate and like empower people to be in positions because like they're taking accountability for their actions. They have the ownership over the situation and they know that you have like trust and belief in them and it's okay to fail.
Yeah, they also know I've fucked up plenty of times. Okay. You don't learn until you mess up.
Right.
You just don't. So I think like delegating, also letting go of things. Like I don't pay the bills. Like at the gym. Like Selena, I have a GM who like pays bills. Like I have someone who like every task my thought process is like, I only want to do the things that only I can do.
Okay.
So like, I'll clean a toilet, I don't care, but I have someone else who would probably be okay doing it and me paying them.
Sure.
But it's like, there's some stuff only I can do. And that's a conversation I have with my coaches and my staff a lot, to where it's like, I can do everything, but I also can't, because we've built this thing that is so big that I can't do everything. So I want to get to a place to where I only do what I have to do, which is travel, coach my athletes, help put out fires, stuff like that. But like, if I'm worried about restocking the fridge with protein shakes, or making sure the bathrooms get clean, or the barbells get whatever, I can't write programming.
Yeah.
I can't travel.
That's the problem I face. I'm looking at Chris right now, which is, Chris is behind the camera. He's actually becoming our general manager.
Yeah.
Like, he's been kind of like leaning on, so he's running payroll and he's writing the
Yeah.
schedule. And, you know, we're getting there, and he's doing a great job. He's actually so swamped with parts of our business and coaching that we have to, like, we're in the process of hiring 2 new coaches to get him to coach less.
Right,
so
yeah,
he can
yeah.
do this. But that's how I feel. Like, I have so many fucking programs to write that it's like, how do I do any of this stuff? And you just feel, because you're always worried about all this other shit. Like, it's like, why is the retail fridge empty?
Right.
You know, sort of. It's
like, guys, come on.
Yeah, exactly. That sort of thing. So, okay. Aggressive accountability is what I'm hearing on that end. So what I was actually going to ask is, like, how are you managing scalability? Because you're kind of famous in our world for being like relentless.
Yeah.
And like, so I'm actually glad to hear you say things like delegation.
Yeah.
I don't know if you would have said this 2 years ago.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
Nope.
Like, because the pace at which you were going and continue to go is, to many of us who've been maybe doing it longer and honestly not as big or as well, but like, unsustainable. Where it's like how many coaches do we see, like, we'll just use Travis Mash because he's both our friend and we know a lot, are burnt out.
Absolutely.
Like, have Travis Mash syndrome.
Yes.
Have that a huge aggressive rise, big business. He would admit to this as well. You gotta at some point begin to delegate, right? What you're doing. It looks like, and you have a method and a process for that. So that's awesome. Where do you think, like, when do you feel tapped out? Like, what's your limits? Do you feel like, it's like you do more basically than anybody I know, you know? It seems like you have this limitless ability to continue to pour into people. And eventually that empties somebody, right?
Yeah, I mean, it makes it easy because, like, there's nowhere else I'd rather be.
Sure.
And I definitely think a lot of coaches feel that way. I don't think I'm special in that aspect, but like, it's easy to pour into people that, it's easy to pour into people that appreciate you.
Yes.
Like, that makes it easy.
Yep.
But I think delegation is a huge part, and having people to lean on.
Okay.
Like, having even my athletes like Estelle and Celia, who, like, I'm very good friends with, but like, they're the first person to hop in the back and grab a notebook out of my hand.
Sure.
Like yesterday.
Step up,
I mean, Celia yesterday was like, hey, you can come later, I'll grab a platform for Kylie. And so I think having that culture and community is just really big, to where, like, they do see you as a human, they know you're doing your best. That helps too, to where I'm like, I promise I'm doing my best, and I will tell my athletes, like, probably every 6 months, because I've stopped pretty much taking on primary athletes at this point, unless it's like someone at a pretty high level. But I have other coaches that take all of our new people, and about every 6 months, I'm like, hey guys, some of you have been with me for like 6 years. And when you started with me, this isn't what you signed up for. You didn't sign up for a senior international coach that was going to be traveling every couple months, that was going to be maybe unavailable for a week at a time, that maybe would take longer to reply to your text messages. You didn't sign up for a coach that was going to be busy with dealing with 30 people at nationals and gone for 12 days. You didn't sign up for that, and that's okay. So if you want to switch to another coach, that's okay. And so I open the door probably every 6 months, to where I'm like, if any of you want to transition to another coach as your primary, it's okay. That helps too, because it also, if someone's like upset with not getting enough attention or whatever, and they don't speak up, it's on them.
Okay.
Because
the door's there.
I communicated that I know I'm not giving you what I did a year ago.
Yeah.
I'm communicating that I know that.
That's a very mature thing to look at, because I feel that way too. Like I was gone. I mean, you travel, I think, as much, maybe more than I do.
Yeah, I don't know. I think you travel more.
It's pretty close, right?
Yeah.
Like I was gone for 60 days in a 90-day period.
Yeah, I've never done that.
I'm going to be gone basically the same amount
Right.
here coming up, you know, and like no complaints about that. Like I'm living the dream, so
Absolutely.
to speak.
Yeah.
Like getting to be, it's always things I want to be doing, but it feels terrible. Like sometimes you're letting your athletes down because it's just like, fuck, I'm going at a pace. It's just so rapid fire. It's like da 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 da. It's like I hate missing those touch points. I hate missing training.
Yeah.
I've talked about this actually with Chris a lot. Like I hate not being in training with my athletes. It's my like I love being in the room in that moment during practice because I think we can make such an impact. Like it goes back to what we were talking about, caring so much.
Yeah.
Like just radiating with care. There's over coaching and like cueing every lift, but like being able to fix anything that goes wrong so that like that can derail a session.
Absolutely.
If we're not there, right?
Yeah.
And so I hate missing that. But you know, hopefully we empower other coaches and develop them and give them the skills so that they can help those athletes when we're gone, right? You probably have a good staff of people that can basically take over, right?
Yeah, I mean, like Neil's pretty much at home. Well, Selena just got home, like running it, but like I actually about 2 weeks ago made a decision. I was actually in the kitchen. I was talking to Anna, and I was like, we were talking about how Neil, one of my coaches, is honestly behind me the most technical coach I have. Like, there's plenty of times I will be watching someone lift, and one thing also too is like as a head coach, you don't have to coach everyone, and you don't have to like step into everything. So sometimes I'll be at team training, we have 3 coaches on the floor. I'm not the closest to an athlete. I see them make an error, and I look around and see what other coaches are watching, and I wait to see who's gonna go say something. And then I kind of watch body language, and I'm like, okay, yeah, that's what I would have said. But I don't need to go over there and say it because they've got it. But I was sitting there talking to Anna about it, and I made a comment. I was like, maybe I should have Neil start helping me with my video analysis when I'm busy. Because I like so many videos. Hours and hours a day. And so I was like, I wonder if Neil would be interested. Because he is struggling still to like build those relationships with people. And it's hard when you have primaries and you have to build that, and you build a lot all at once. And I was like, Neil, what do you think about this? And he was like, oh my God, I'd love that. And it's been so nice while I've been here because I haven't been watching videos. And I'll like go look and I'm like, yeah, he's right on track.
That's a tough thing when you have like such a solid relationship. Like I know that the athletes I work with are like super reliant on me, you know, and I'm not mad about the relationship we have, but it'll make them defer to other people that they should trust in my own gym. And I think this is actually one thing I think I'm going to actively work on post nationals is to be like, hey, I'm going to coach less because I have to travel so much. Like I'll be here, I'll do the same thing, but like I want you to listen to what this person has to say. And if you disagree with it, I want you to be able to verbalize why you'd like to do X instead. So they'll have a learning moment and you can discuss about it, and maybe you're wrong even, you know. So I think that's a great point of view, being able to expose coaches to your like
it
your
also helps
coaches.
because if they have to coach them in the back, you're already comfortable with this person. And also like, I'm so busy, I also want more autonomy. And I think there's a balance between like some level of codependency I think is okay because that's the sport. Like you need that anchor. But you also need to be able to do it on your own.
You absolutely do.
And like you're saying missing training, like there's also something to be said for like stoking a fire. Like I remember the first time Nathan Snatch 120 had missed it twice. And I was like, show me who you are. Like right in this moment, you have one more attempt. You want to make senior teams. You want to do all these big things. Show me. Because you're just not being aggressive enough. You're just not finishing. You just don't want it bad enough. You say you want it, show me. And he made it.
Show me, kid.
Show me. But like, not everyone's going to be able to stoke that. And like, if that's your athlete and your primary, like you need to be there.
Yeah, of course. This is so funny. We were talking about business and we're still talking about like athletes and coaching. But
it's not business.
It shows it shows what we care about.
Right.
That's actually what we want to be doing.
But that's why we're successful. It's not because of income balance sheets and profit and ROIs. Like it's like, yeah, all that stuff's important, but it's not how people become successful.
I've only learned how to do that so that the thing exists.
Yes.
Like I tell people all the time, everything that exists at our gym only was created so that this can be sustained. Because unfortunately, we live in a world you need money to do things.
Absolutely.
And without it, this will not exist. So I must learn and do all these things I hate. Everything I do that I hate is just to protect the thing I love. And like that's it. And that's helpful because like if I didn't love it, like none of it would be worth it, right? You know, we're very lucky to be doing something we are super passionate about, we really enjoy. So every day is like defending this thing and trying to make it better, right? Last question I have on business is now, like, this is where you're at, largest club in America, really, really successful, got a bunch of coaches. What do you envision as the future of Bear Barbell? Like, what are the things you're trying to accomplish? Like, you're mostly talking about like, hey, I'm just trying to coach and have the best relationships possible. Are there any other like aspirations you have business-wise going forward?
Honestly,
or is it like we're here and we're
that's it. So I had a coach one time ask me like, oh, like what's your goal in like 2 years? And I was like, I don't have one. And they're like, what do you mean? Like, what's your 5-year plan? I was like, I've never lived my life having like a 1 or a 2 or a 5-year plan. I'm like, I'm just gonna worry about today. And like, don't get me wrong, I would love to coach at the Olympics, right? Like getting Aaron and Celia.
Those are coaching goals, though.
Right.
Yeah.
But that's also like a life goal, like being able to like be there. But if they don't want to go to the Olympics, I don't really care.
Sure. Yeah.
So I think for me, it's just about making an impact. And so I think that's one thing by coaching coaches and mentoring coaches, I get to have that impact. But like, I don't really care if Bear never has more than 250 athletes. I don't care if we have 200 or 150, or maybe we grow to 500. That seems too much.
Yeah.
But it doesn't matter as long as it's sustainable, because there are challenges that come with everything, and I think any challenge that I've met has made me better too. Like if I had 30 people join when I left here, it'd be like, okay, well that's something for me to overcome and become better. How do I manage my time better? How do I get better at delegating? How do I get better at doing all these things? And so I think it's like, no matter what hurdles I've come across as a coach, being able to reframe it into like, this is just making me better at what I do, makes it all feel more achievable.
Okay.
And it's all a choice.
Yeah.
I could say no to everybody. I could go home and fire half my athletes.
You could do that.
I could go home and fire everyone and shut down the gym and go decide to, I don't know, do something else. It's all choice.
Right.
And so I think if I just like keep making the same choices every day, choice to be present for people, the choice to be better, the choice to care, I just want to keep doing that.
So making an impact on the people that you are, like qualitatively being able to get better. I kind of, honestly, I feel the same way. Like our weightlifting membership at our gym has actually declined. Yeah. Not severely, but like we just haven't replenished. But one thing I'll say that I believe that we've done is we've put more quality into the products. Right. Like me and the coaches are just trying to do better for the people that are there. Right. And that's all I was after. like there are less people, but I'm making a stronger impact in it. And that's, I feel really special in my like USA weightlifting role, that I think, you know, you can't coach all the athletes in the world and you can't mentor all the coaches in the world, but I get to play this position to like advise and help, you know, like in the calls we get to do and everything. And that feels amazing to me. It's like, okay, crap, like I get to help Britt, who coaches all these people, and maybe I should take some away from our conversation just with these two people.
I mean, every time we talk about
and I'll learn stuff too, you know, so it's awesome. Like that's so great. I think we're doing it for the same reason.
Yeah, I feel like every time we talk, I take something away, and you're one of those people that I know, like if I was struggling with something, because there's some stuff like I'm not gonna know, right? Like maybe a couple months ago I talked to Bo Sandoval because I was like, I need someone who has coached bigger men. Yeah. And I just wanted advice on like coaching Aaron. Like, okay, who are some people? And I talked to Celia and she was like, well, I used to be coached by Bo, and then I am friends with the O-line coach at UT. And she got me in contact with both of them, and I like hopped on the phone with them because, like, you know, there's not a lot of coaches that know how to coach male supers. No. Especially someone like Aaron who comes in already amazing.
It's really good, really fast. Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
But we also definitely have flaws of things we need to fix. Yeah. Like we're not going to get to the Olympics doing what we're doing now. No. So bridging that gap, I need people. Right. If I try to figure it out by myself, I'm probably going to fail. And like that's very ego driven. Yes. So why not try? I mean, at one point I told Aaron, I was like, because he like wasn't communicating, I was like, hey, like, if you think another coach would be a better fit for you, that's okay. Like if you think like our connection, maybe you can't communicate with me, if you think that's okay, I can make phone calls, whatever. Like I want you to be the best athlete possible for you. Don't do it for me. Don't hang around because I like was your first real coach. I got you on teams, and he was like, I don't want another coach. I'm like, okay, I'm just letting you know. It's okay if you do. It's humility. Like it's be able to be the best for them, whatever they need, and like that. Like if what they need is you out, if what they need is from somebody else, like go track it, find it down. Sign of a great coach. Right. Unafraid to ask questions. Okay. I'm gonna do this last segment. It's kind of like rapid fire ish. You know, like no pressure to like answer quickly, but we're gonna bring it home because we've been talking a lot. You can get on with the day. So, what is one coaching hill you're willing to die on? technique is more important than anything else.
Technique more important than anything else. More important than strength, more important than psychology, anything like that. Okay. Defend it until the end.
Yeah.
All right. What do people misunderstand about what you do?
I think people think I'm probably busier than I am. And I am busy, but I do have a lot of downtime. And I think that's because I manage my time really well. Like, people are like, you're so busy. And I was like, yeah, I am busy. I also function at a really weird level to where I can just like work forever and it's fine. Yeah, I think I have more of like a life and like a personality and like friends and like hang out and do stuff than people think.
Okay.
Like, sometimes I'll like go to the river with my friends and people are like, oh, did I like,
what are you doing hanging out?
I'm a person.
Shouldn't you be working?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That's good. That's good to know. For our new coaches out there, what's some advice you would give them starting, or maybe even something that you wish you knew when you began to be a weightlifting coach?
I would say don't chase numbers.
Okay.
Like, don't chase teams, don't chase trophies, don't chase podiums. Build a relationship, make them stronger, help them move better, and the rest will come. But I've seen, like, especially youths, like how many of these coaches are like putting weights on the bar, like to try to medal. Like, first of all, it's a B session. You forgot that you don't medal normally in B session. Coaches, I think, get so caught up in like feeling like they need to prove themselves. It's not about you.
Yeah.
It's about the athlete.
Yeah.
I think just like don't chase stuff.
Focus on the athlete.
Yeah.
Like I think that's a good all competition approach, to be quite honest. Like, I see a lot of times, actually at international meets, where they're there, the athlete, and again, the athlete's in a B group, they can't medal, but we're so concerned about them placing higher or making the next team. I see that a lot. Making the next team syndrome.
Oh my God.
Instead of where they are at right now in this, like, hey, we're here right now in the back room.
Right.
We need to decide what's this athlete in front of us looks like, not about the next team or getting 10th instead of 11th or something like that. So an athlete-centered, focused approach with what's right in front of us instead of being all concerned about the numbers. So I think that's really important.
Yeah.
All right. Last question. If you weren't coaching, what would you be doing?
I don't know. I think like it's weird that I can say over the years I feel like I've done so many things, and I think I've learned that I've developed a skill set to where like I jokingly say like I'd probably be good at anything I really put myself into. Yeah. I do really enjoy. This sounds so wild. I do all of our graphic design work. I don't know. If you know that.
Yeah, you're good at it. Yeah.
So I taught myself graphic design and Photoshop when Estelle and I were in Switzerland and I had insomnia and I couldn't sleep. Maybe do graphic design and like brand things. Like, I really enjoy helping coaches, who's my coach, with branding. So like I designed that shirt he's wearing.
Oh, it's beautiful. Yeah.
I enjoy helping coaches and businesses rebrand and properly fit their like their audience, I guess.
Okay.
So yeah, maybe graphic design.
Something creative.
Branding. Yeah.
Branding. Okay.
Which is weird growing up because I wasn't creative at all.
No.
I couldn't draw. I couldn't do any of that stuff. And then, I don't know, it's like I unlocked a part of my brain when I started doing it.
It's all the weird things you have to do as an entrepreneur to figure shit out, right?
Yeah, so maybe that.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Okay. That's all I got. Thank you, Britt.
Yeah, thank you.
For spending the time. Yeah. I really enjoyed this, So this is a glimpse of what I get to do with Brittany and like many of our coaches, and why like I feel so lucky when we go on trips, because this is really my favorite part. Is shooting the shit. So thank you guys, and good luck to Bear the rest of the week.
Thank you.
Okay.
You as well.